Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel. Have you ever heard about summoning spirits? If you've watched my previous videos, you probably have. Today, you're in for an exciting story about Bloody Mary. Enjoy watching. That night, when we gathered at my friend Vlad's party, none of us could have imagined that an innocent game would turn into the worst nightmare of our lives. The house where we decided to meet stood on the outskirts of the city, far from the bright lights and hustle. Old, creaky, with windows staring into the darkness, it was already a perfect setting for a horror story. This house had belonged to Vlad's family for several generations, and according to him, strange things sometimes happened there. Inexplicable sounds, footsteps, even occasionally opening doors. Vlad mentioned that his grandmother had seen shadows wandering the hallways, but it was always dismissed as senility. We didn't pay much attention to his words back then, and we sat in the living room, illuminated only by a couple of candles. Laughter, music, drinks, just a regular youth gathering. On the shelves along the walls were old books and darkened photographs, creating an ominous atmosphere we didn't take seriously. Someone suggested, "Why don't we summon Bloody Mary?" Everyone laughed, but surprisingly, the idea was supported. Maybe it was the alcohol, or perhaps just boredom. Lyra, Vlad's girlfriend, pointed out that the bathroom mirror was perfect for the game. It was old, with slightly cloudy glass and cracks, as if hiding its own secrets. We decided to perform the ritual in the old bathroom where the mirror was covered in a web of fine cracks. There were 5 of us: Vlad, Lyra, Sasha, Misha, and me. Each of us tried to appear calm, but a slight tension filled the air. Lyra insisted on holding the candle herself, claiming she wasn't afraid of such things. Her confidence gave us some courage, but deep inside, I felt this was a bad idea. According to the rules, we had to light the candle, stand in front of the mirror, and say her name 3 times. At first glance, nothing complicated. When we said Bloody Mary for the 3rd time, the tension in the air became palpable. The candle flickered, as if someone had breathed on it. For a moment, an eerie silence fell. Even the music in the living room seemed to fade. I chuckled nervously, but then the mirror began to fog up, as if covered by a dense mist. At that moment, Lyra fell silent, her gaze fixed on the glass. "Guys, do you see that?" she whispered, her voice trembling. A faint whisper emerged from the mirror, as though someone was calling our names. This sound didn't resemble a human voice. It was sinister, cold, as if coming from the depths of hell. Then, a silhouette appeared. A tall, gaunt woman with long black hair and eyes filled with hatred stared straight at us. Her hands, ending in terrifying claws, reached for the glass, which suddenly cracked. No one had time to react as she stepped forward out of the mirror and into our world. Screams filled the room. Lara dropped the candle in terror and it went out. We were left in pitch darkness, surrounded by her ominous presence. Her whisper, resembling the howling wind, echoed from all directions. Someone shouted, "Run!" We dashed toward the exit, but the door seemed locked by some invisible force. Panic set in, but Sasha remained the calmest. He tried to get through the kitchen, but suddenly vanished, as if swallowed by a shadow. Sasha was the first to disappear. We heard his scream and the sound of something heavy falling. We called out to him, but there was no response. Vlad decided to return to the living room to find a phone and call for help, but something unexplainable happened. He was thrown back into the hallway, as if the house itself was protecting its new sinister resident. Lara, trembling with fear, whispered that she had seen Mary drag Sasha into the shadows. When we found him later, it was already daylight. But at that moment, all our efforts were focused on survival. She played with us like a cat with mice. Her claws left deep cuts on my back and side. The pain was unbearable, but the fear was even greater. She didn't attack immediately. She waited, cornering us. Lara fainted from the terror, and Vlad tried to revive her. Her breathing was uneven, and I could feel how hard she was trying to hold back tears. At one point, Vlad shouted, "We need to break the mirror! That's her portal!" We barely managed to get back to the bathroom. I grabbed a metal stool and struck the mirror with all my strength. It cracked, then shattered into pieces. At that moment, the horrifying figure of Bloody Mary let out a deafening scream that made us cover our ears. She disappeared, dissolving into the air like smoke. The house fell silent once again, broken only by our heavy breathing. But before vanishing, she left us a warning. Bloody marks on the bathroom walls formed the phrase, "I'll be back, at dawn." We found Sasha. He was unconscious but alive. His eyes open, but he couldn't say a word, as if his mind was still trapped in that nightmare. We took him to the hospital and stayed silent the entire way. Vlad sold the house a month later, claiming he could never return there. None of us ever spoke of that night again. But the scars on my skin and the wounds in my soul remind me that Bloody Mary is not just a childhood ghost story. Sometimes it's better to leave legends alone. And the most terrifying thing, I sometimes hear her whisper when I look in the mirror. Now I avoid mirrors at night and always wonder, what if she really does come back?